Hello, and thank you for joining us. We're here to continue our conversation on artificial intelligence, seemingly an endless conversation. Of course, the dial keeps turning, and now the word on everyone's lips is agentic AI. Here to help us break it down more and understand what the topic might mean for businesses in the region is Sachin Bhatia, the co founder of Exotel. Sachin, thank you for joining us and welcome to the
My
show.
pleasure. Looking forward to the discussion.
Artificial intelligence is obviously an industry that is experiencing colossal, unprecedented growth, with the conversational AI market in the Middle East and Africa expected to grow to nearly $2.3 billion by 2031. I understand you guys at Exotel recently announced a new product, Harmony, on your own AI powered platform. So I think that's probably the most obvious place to start the conversation here today in terms of where you see that playing in this overall conversation of agentic AI and how you see the sector developing.
So, human beings are famous for underestimating what will happen in the long run and overestimating what is going to happen in the short term. So, when I meet leaders, everybody is experiencing AI as a FOMO, fear of missing out, that I should be doing something in AI. And I think in the short term, all of us have experienced queues and wait times and how important our calls are when we call businesses, right? But I think that is going to change drastically over the next 4 to 5 years. You would have immediate access. You would have somebody who's listening to you immediately and responding and getting context and maybe even solving it. And if a human being come in, which they should, then they would be more empowered than what they are today. So we believe that future conversations that you'll have with businesses will be conversations like friends, where they understand you. Even if you talk to them once a year, they just get you. That's how I think the AI is going to help businesses communicate with their customers.
It sounds like you're touching on this topic of AI helping businesses to communicate with customers, maybe breaking down some barriers of conversation.
So for the last 2, 3 decades, I think the face to face has been replaced by a phone or a chat. And I think your audience would prefer a Instagram channel of the business and then just talk to them, or a WhatsApp conversation, right? And all that has become possible today, but they still don't get the context. You talk to bank in the morning, and then you write an email to them in the afternoon, and then you talk to them in the evening again, and they have absolutely no clue that what has happened with you in the past. So you have to repeat the story all over again, and all of us have experienced it, right? I think AI is really good at gathering context. So it can make sense of what has happened with you. It has a memory, and it'll tell you that here is what happened with Matt. Here is probably how Matt is feeling right now. And most likely, Matt must be frustrated and wants to block the card. So the AI can identify from your previous conversations, here's the intent. Now you can take action. You can have AI solve it, or you can have a human come in who now immediately understands what has happened with Matt and solve the situation without you repeating anything that you have said in the past.
I mean, I can't be the only one who's been frustrated with speaking to businesses in the past. I mean,
Yeah.
I love, for instance, you pointed out there the idea of being able to talk to somebody on WhatsApp. My question, though, would be, is the technology ready for what you're actually describing? Because
Sure.
I've definitely had conversations with businesses where I've been put in with an AI chatbot who is thoroughly useless.
Yeah.
So,
So I'll share a anecdote first and then answer your question. So recently for a food aggregator business, so let's say you order from Pizza Hut and your order is running late and you want to know where the order is. Um, we implemented a AI agent to answer this question. And it is a simple thing of getting your order status and just playing it out. And between KSA and UAE, we saw more adoption in KSA, and this was very counterintuitive. We always thought UAE tech adoption would be higher. And you know why UAE residents did not want to do it? Because their earlier experiences with bots has been very frustrating. So they don't trust the bot. Whereas in KSA, this was happening for the first time. So they wanted to give it an opportunity. So agentic AI is changing so fast. What you read yesterday is already past news, because either Google or Anthropic, some of them, or OpenAI are going to make an announcement which will change what was not possible to possible, right? So I think agentic AI, it's very, very fast, very, very transformational. But there are use cases that you can do today: gathering context, simple information, resolving issues which don't require judgment calls, right? And then as soon as the conversation goes beyond what is transactional. A human being can be brought in with context, right? That is possible today. Now, that's from the technology standpoint. The question is also from governance and policy standpoint. So if you recently hear narratives, sovereign LLMs, governments have their policies set for the next 4 or 5 years. And I think that creates a momentum, not as a pilot that a CIO is running, but a boardroom conversation, right? And when things are discussed and resolved in board, they get executed very fast. So we also see policy resolve coming in apart from technology availability, right? So I have no doubts that over the next 2 3 years, your conversations with businesses are going to be very, very smooth. And every consumer is going to like it, because who wants to wait in a queue, right? Who wants to hear how important their call is?
I completely agree. And by the way, I mean, I'll be looking forward to it myself. But putting aside what
Sure.
I'm looking forward to, let's have this conversation as well in the context of businesses. What's the opportunity here for a business? For the consumer, it seems pretty obvious. They get
Sure.
much better conversations. They'll be able to get their problems and queries solved a lot faster. But what's the opportunity for a business beyond just customer satisfaction?
Sure. So there are real bottom line impacts that we are seeing on the ground. So we are seeing, for example, for certain use cases, 60-70% what businesses call containment rates, which means without deteriorating the experience, you were able to handle the whole conversation within a voice agent or a conversational agent. This has huge implications. So, which means that that much bandwidth gets freed up, where you can now do stuff that you were not able to do. See, what would be an ideal scenario for a business? If I'm a business owner, I want to put my best humans in front of you if you have a problem. But why they are not able to do it? Because it's just not business wise feasible to, the margins don't allow me to do that. Now, if I'm able to free a little bit of margins from the transactional work that the humans are doing, that bandwidth can now be used to bring actual human to do human work, right? Humans should be brought in when you're frustrated. You don't want to shout at a machine. In our part of the world, by the way, all of us love to shout. If we are angry, this is true for Middle East, this is true for India, this is very cultural. If I'm frustrated, only a resolution is not going to help. I want to vent it out. So at that time, you require a human being to come, listen, empathize, make exceptions, make judgment calls, make me feel special. I think more and more of that is going to happen once you free up. So businesses can now think, do I want to translate what we are saving into bottom line? Or do I want to change the experience? And I think it'll be a mix of both. So the cost of service is going to go down, and then the quality of service is going to go up. That's what I see happening for the businesses. And recently I heard a earnings call for a very large fintech group in India. And the CEO of that company is announcing on an investor call the impact that AI is making. And I think 10% of their loans are now dispersed by AI, by having a conversation, qualifying and dispersal, right? So this has huge ramifications. So economies of scale, staffing for peak, for example. Let's say you want to give 24-hour service to your customers. Can you staff 24 hours? It's very expensive. So how about having an intelligent conversational agent available at the middle of the night to solve the problem that the customer is actually facing right now? That's very difficult to do today. It'll be possible tomorrow.
That's fascinating. There's actually a topic in there that I want to spend a little bit of time on because it's something that I know you've been vocal on in the past, which is this idea that whilst these AI tools are amazing and they will change the game in terms of relationships with customers, humans are still very important in that loop. And I believe, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so you can tell me if I'm wrong, that you also believe that we're moving to a future where humans and AI need to be continuing to work together rather than one
Yeah, yeah,
replacing the
yeah.
other.
So the word, I think, is divided into two parts. Uh, the first part thinks that AI is going to empower humans and make them better at what they're doing. And the second thinks that AI is going to replace humans, right? And I think you don't need to have this debate. The thing is, can you orchestrate a framework where if a human being is required, a human being comes in, and an agent is required, an agent can come in. And this has to be seamless. So you come in, I know that you're frustrated from your past context. I don't want to put you in front of a machine. A human comes in and takes the call. Whereas if somebody is just here to, let's say, inquire how to block a card, right? Or how to apply for a new card, the agent can contextualize, give information, and then say, is there anything else? Hey, I would also maybe want to know the latest offers that you have. Okay, that's on your WhatsApp right now. Anything else I can help you? These are transactional discussions where we don't require humans, right? The question is, how seamlessly can you hand off, and is there a single memory layer to do that, right? So I'm a very strong believer that all this hype of all jobs are going to go away is a little, of course, if you're using humans to do scripted things, that's a very bad use of a human being, right? We are creative, we are perceptive, uh, we can act without data, we can act in ambiguity. So I think those skills will become even more important. I also see new roles coming in where humans are supervising AI, because ultimately you want accountability to reside with some human being. So imagine that there are 4 voice conversations happening, and the bots are telling you this customer seems to be frustrated, and you are the one who's telling the bots, no, don't go in that direction. Nobody's imagining those things today, but I think that the future is where humans are taking accountability for the AI workers. But you can't have scripted conversations, something that a machine can really do well. Why would you use a human being to do that? Human beings are much more valuable. So I think the roles will change. The number of conversations going to humans will reduce, but the value of those conversations is going to be, it is the last line of defense for an enterprise. So in contact centers, you used to have freshers coming in. That used to be a stopgap job arrangement. I think now you will have the best empathizers sitting, because customer would have gone through that journey, and that if they are coming to you, you now better take some action and resolve it there and then. So I think the nature of work would change, the jobs would change, the value of those conversations will increase. But humans and AI have to work together. Like in our space, in conversation space, I have no doubt that whatever automation you do, there will always be a human required. There'll be new roles that'll get created, and we need to train our people, upskill our people. Imagine those things happening in the governance framework, rather than uh, resist the inevitable, as I say.
I mean, that's a pretty rosy future that you're referring to there. You're kind of saying that the jobs are going to change, but there's still going to be jobs, just slightly different types of jobs. But you yourself are sitting basically on the cutting edge of what this technology looks like. You even mentioned a phrase there where you said people can't imagine this now.
Hmm.
So obviously my question is, for the businesses who are allegedly going to be instituting these kinds of technologies, are they even prepared for this kind of disruption?
So we definitely see excitement, but those excitements are right now thinking use case by use case by use case. Can I do this? Can I think,
Too small.
and that will prove the effectiveness of it. But the right way to think about it is not use case by use case. The right way to think about it is one central memory layer across the journey, and then agents referring to that, and then humans also referring to that. So I think the organizations right now are thinking pilots in one dimension, and I think 2025 showed that a lot of pilots are successful. If if I remember correctly, I think there was a published stat that 95% of AI projects fail. 2024, 2025, that was the scene. Now we are seeing ROI happening on projects on use case basis. With the governments coming in, with the boardroom discussions, I think these are going to be strategic calls now. Like what I told about that large NBFC in India, these are going to be boardroom conversations that we need to push this agenda and make sure we are ready. On the tech side, um, most organizations now have chief digital officers, chief AI officers, to make sure that this agenda is being pushed across organizations and not in one department. This is not a tool. This is a new way of doing business, is what businesses are realizing now. Early education has helped, but I think it has crossed what I call as the threshold velocity, that it's at point of no return now. Yeah.
So when we have all these AI agents being deployed across businesses, a lot of what we've been speaking about already is effectively the impact on customers and also the importance of this single framework. I think there's maybe an interesting conversation to be had here as well about the communication of AI agents between businesses. So when you're saying that you could have an AI agent which remembers everything that has frustrated me and everything that's important to me, say that's my bank, for instance, and I'm trying to buy a house. And then the agent that I'm dealing with my mortgage broking company can speak to the bank, which then speaks to me. Um, I mean, it sounds amazing. Sounds like an incredible future, but there must be some serious security conversations that need to be had here
Sure.
as well. And also, when you talk about a human managing, say, for instance, 4 AI agents, I think that's a bit ambitious. So I imagine they'll probably be managing a lot more than just 4 because it's a lot cheaper to have a human managing many, many AI agents. How do you keep an eye on all of that at the same time? I mean, that's a lot of management, isn't it?
So let's talk about the first topic that you said, which is data governance and sovereignty, right? I think today you have countries making this into a national agenda. So of course, I don't want my data to go out of UAE. KSA doesn't want the data to go out of KSA. So that's one guardrail. Within the organization also, Matt, um, a bank wants to use that data for their own business. They're not gonna easily expose this data as an API,
They
for
won't want
example.
to, right?
Yeah. But they would definitely want to, let's say, if your banking history leads to me understanding better mortgage, you would see that bank actually opening a mortgage company on their own. Why not? So, so you would see more and more businesses that have context getting into downstream and upstream businesses in future. We have seen that happening with internet also, by the way. Uh, AI is not new there. Um, so that's the first part where I think businesses will have guardrails. They would want to use data for their business and maybe get into other lines of business where they can know a little bit more about you and then make sure that they have an edge over somebody starting from scratch. So data is going to be gold because AI can process that much. The final frontier differentiator is data. If you see the largest tech companies in the world, you hear Spotify and it gives you a aha moment, next song. How does it know that I want to listen to? So you're gonna see that more and more, where you don't have to repeat a lot. It just gets you, um, and they're able to make offer. They're anyways showing you ads based on this. Now those ads are gonna be more relevant to what you really want and not orthogonal and saying like, why do you think I want to go on a holiday right now? So there'll be more contextualization that you will see happening with data. What is the second part of your question?
No. I mean, we could sit here all day because it's a fascinating topic. But you mentioned something interesting there as well. I suppose that when you have an agent who fully understands an individual, you probably have opportunities for product creation that you weren't aware of. So you mentioned their typical thing is an organization decides, hey, we're going to do an offer. We're going to say to everyone that you could win a car. Right? Maybe I hate cars.
Yeah.
Maybe it has no relevance to me at all.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose it means that there's an opportunity there for businesses to create products based on their customers because they have better understanding of customer needs.
So I'll give you a framework first and then we'll get to the
Mm.
depth. I think AI will do three things very, very crisply. The first is what I called as automations. The examples are very obvious. It can handle conversations, hand over conversations. The second is what I call as personalization, which means what is true for Sachin is not true for Matt. And I have substantial data to do that. Now, personalization can be used in a lot of ways. For example, marketing products. Or let's say, and God forbid it happens, but both of us default on our card. And I am a habitual defaulter, and you just required a nudge.
Oh, that's nice of you to put it that way around.
The AI cannot speak to us both in the same way. So I'm going to get a message that, this is overdue. And you're going to, hey, Matt, I was wondering if you will be able. So that is also personalization, right? So I think data enables automation, AI enables automation, AI enables personalization. And last part, which I think is the most powerful, is called observability. So I'll give you a small story here. All of us know of surveys that consumers get, right? How would you rate us between 0 to 9, right? How many of us fill those surveys? The going rate is 3 to 5%. So today leaders are relying on 3 to 5% of their customers giving them feedback. Imagine if you are a CEO of the company and you could listen to every conversation that is happening. Isn't that empowering? Like, you know every conversation that has happened and you've heard it, and now you know what's wrong with my company and what do the consumers want.
Sentiment analysis, I suppose.
Not just sentiment. I'll give you small, subtle things. I was talking to a healthcare group recently, And the agent there used, for example, they were trying to ask the customer to make a payment because the insurance was rejected. He said, sir, if you don't make a payment, they will block my salary. That might be good operationally, but that's very bad for the brand, right? As a CEO of the organization, I want to know that something like this is misaligned incentives. The agent is behaving desperate. He's obviously working for the company, and the outcome is that the company, but that's not the message I want to. You can actually hear those things. So it's like you having a conversation with your wife. She has been shouting, and then you ask a question to them, ask a question to her, how are you feeling? And she would say, were you not listening all this while? So I think businesses can now with AI build observability at scale that is never seen. Like the leaders would know what is happening. They will not rely on four of their department heads to tell them what's wrong with their business. The consumers are directly telling them what's wrong with their business, right? So I think that's the third area. Now to your question, personalization can be used in millions of ways. Observability can be used in, these are frameworks. I can give you 10 use cases, but I think the leadership will get the 11th use case, which is new. But the question is, have you built those frameworks like what we say in Harmony? Do you have observability, personalization, automation as frameworks? And now let's experiment and see what our consumers want.
Wow. Okay. Look, unfortunately, even though I said we could zero day, we don't have all that time. So, last couple of questions
Sure.
for you. Obviously, we're sat here having this conversation in Dubai, in the UAE, and you've alluded to the UAE a couple of times. I'd love to hear your thoughts on where you see the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and the Middle East more broadly in terms of this conversation around AI adoption, agentic AI, and where you see that going in the future.
So there's definitely excitement both at the national level and the leaderships that we are meeting. The boardroom conversations are uh, clear strategic alignment. There's also very clear awareness of governance and sovereignty required, which I think is good. You should not dive headfirst into things which have no point of return, right? So you obviously want guardrails. The region takes data privacy very seriously. The government takes it very seriously. So I think those are really good things. We have seen 4 or 5 kind of use cases. First, frontline office, which is front office conversations being handled by the agent. Observability is really big. Every leader that I talk to, they say, can we make sure that all the conversations we have had in 1 year, can you just give me insights from that? And that's not a AI versus human conversation. That's human becoming more aware conversation, right? So I think that's where it's going to start in the next 12 to 24 months. Simple automation use cases, simple observability use cases. And over the next 4 or 5 years, Matt, you don't have to wait in a queue ever.
Well, you've taken the words out my mouth for my final question here, which is let's look to 5 years ahead. What will the customer experience be like in comparison to now? And what will be outdated then that we currently are using today?
So you'll not hear press one, press two.
Oh, thank you for
You'll
that.
not have agents greeting you saying, welcome to XYZ Bank. How can I help you? The agent would say, hey Matt, I saw that you were doing this. Let me help you with this. Anything else? Like they would already know. Um, you would also have more and more businesses being differentiated on customer experience. Today, it's very hard to say. See, products are always the same. A bank loan is a bank loan, a credit card is a credit card. But you would have clear leaders who care about experience, who are able to personalize. You would also have laggards who have not jumped on the bandwagon and they'll probably go out of business. But I think consumers are in for delight. It's like how when app ecosystem came and you could have a delivery and everything, and can you imagine how we were ordering food 10 years back or how we were ordering grocery 10 years back? Now imagine that 5 years henceforth, you never ever have to repeat yourself. They just know, they just get you. It's a short, fast, quick, personalized conversation that might say, wow, like a Matt of today. You will not realize it because it will happen incrementally, but a Matt of today will say, this is magic. How is this business able to get me so well? Even my girlfriend doesn't get me like that.
Look, Sachin, it's been wonderful to talk to you. I often find the conversations with AI can skew negative quite a lot when they're talking about the future. So it's wonderful to hear a real positive outlook on the future. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I really appreciate your insights.
My
Thank you.
pleasure, Matt, and your audience, enjoy the bandwagon. This is going to be a fun ride for all of us.